Okay, so one of the first things we're going to have to do with this particular model is we're going to have to take out the radiator, the battery, because underneath the battery the dryer is under there. And after that, then we're going to have to go ahead, well, before we take the dryer out, is drain the Freon out safely. Okay, so I'm going to remove the battery first, because underneath is the dryer, and then it'd be easier to get to the radiator. So just 10mm bolts. You're going to take off positive and negative. I always take off the positive first, because it just makes it a lot easier, and the fact you won't shock yourself. So most batteries have a strap here with two 10mm. You have to take those two bolts off. Just a real quick tip, always when you take your battery out, do not set it on the ground, because it'll ground itself out. Always put it on an object. Before you remove the bottom shield of the battery, or the bottom plate, you're going to go ahead and just take the overfill bottle cap right off and pull it and just set it aside, so that when you lift the plate up, it can come out. Next, we're going to take the radiator supports out. I'm going to take the fans out, two 10mm bolts per fan. There's some more at the bottom, and then we'll be on to the next step. Okay, you're going to want to make sure you get all the clips out. You're going to want to take this clip right here for the radiator fan, and then there's some more over here. We're going to just unplug all these clips right here, and then we're going to pull these two radiator fans out. If you're like me and you don't have a radiator drain plug, in order to save your radiator fluid as much as you can, go ahead and clamp your hoses off. Don't clamp too hard. You don't want to squeeze right through the rubber hose, but give them a clamp on the top hose and the bottom one at the bottom of the radiator. We got the radiator out and all the fans. Now we're going to go ahead and drain the Freon. You're going to have to drain it into a can, because it can't, if it's R134A, it can't go into the atmosphere. But the new EnviroSafe 12A refrigerant can be drained in the atmosphere, because it's propane and butane. So here's how you do it. You take the low side, which is the blue side, and over here it's a smaller one on the line. We're going to hook it up. These are R134A gauges. If you have R12 system, then you're going to have to use obviously R12 gauges or adapters. So you're going to go ahead and turn it, and then it's going to go ahead and feed into the system. Then you got to make sure your gauges are off first before you put anything together. And the high side is this bigger one right here. We're going to take that off. I'm going to run the red to the hot side, which is always the smaller line. You'll be able to see it. And you'll clip that on, screw it tight, and then the pressure's built up. If you don't know what I'm talking about, here's a better angle. This is the low side, which is the fatter lines right here, and this is the high side with these skinnier lines right here. The middle gauge is obviously running back to our tank right now, and we're just going to go ahead and open the high side, the red side, and it's going to go into the tank. And then once that's all drained out, then we can go ahead and take our dryer off and our condenser. Okay, on this 96 Honda Accord, the dryer is right underneath the battery on the passenger side. So what you're going to do is you're going to get a 17mm wrench, and you're going to need another wrench, and you're going to have to pull it the opposite way, just like that. Don't just put a 17 on there like that and crank it. You'll end up bending or breaking the line. Okay, so now you've taken the two 17mm bolts off of the dryer. As soon as you pull these lines out, you're going to want to make some kind of paper. Just grab a paper towel and stuff it in there, because you don't want anything getting inside these lines. So now that I've taken, go ahead and plug both these lines, the dryer lines, I'm going to go ahead and take these two 10mm bolts out, and then we're going to pull the dryer out, and then there's just one more 10mm bolt around the dryer, and the dryer will come out, and then we'll go ahead and put this clamp back in here and tighten the 10mm bolt around the dryer. After, we'll probably just mark it and get it kind of lined up so that we can put this right back in. I've pulled the dryer out, and these were the two 10mm I was telling you about. This one right here should be an 8mm. We're going to go ahead and take this out, and then the dryer should come out, and then we put the new one in, put it back in, but don't tighten this down just yet, because you're going to have to adjust it to how it's going to line up with the high side lines. Always when you change out a dryer and you take off your lines, you're going to go ahead and replace the seals. So on this one, we're just going to slide a little pick in there and pull the seal off, and we're going to go ahead and replace it with the new one. Just roll them right over, just like that, and then you got a new seal on there. So now that we have the new seals on, we're going to go ahead and take these caps off. First, we're going to go ahead and position it. I got the clamp around the dryer loose, so I'm going to put it on here first, and then I'm going to get an idea where it needs to be inside the clamp once I put it in, just like that. And now I'm going to pull it back out, and I'm going to go ahead and tighten this. It's actually a 5/16. Okay, now that we've gone ahead and installed the dryer, we're going to head over to the condenser, and we're going to take off the high side line. So in the front grille of the car, it's going to be right here. It's a 10mm. We're going to go ahead and take off this 10mm right here, and then we're going to pull it forward just a little bit, and then there's another one on the opposite side, which I'll show you next. Now, in order to tilt this condenser forward, we're going to have to remove this 10mm bolt right here, and then this one right here, and then the condenser will be able to come out. But before that, or after that, we're going to go ahead and remove right over here on the right side. There's another, I believe it's a high side line. If you can see right here, this hose, and then you follow it down right here, and then we got to take the 10mm off of that side too. Okay, we've gone ahead and taken those two 10mm bolts off and pushed the condenser forward. Now, as you can see down in here, pushed it there on the right side, right by the compressor, is the other 10mm bolt we're going to take off, and then the condenser will be able to come right out. Now, take in mind, when you bought a new condenser, this bracket right here on the 94 to 98 Accords, it comes off just like that, and you're going to put it on the new one. We're going to put this this clamp that was on top, or bracket that was on top of the old one, and we're going to put it on here. Now make sure you get it right, because this one, these were facing this way, so that means that this part is going to have to go towards the bolts. So we're just going to set it right on there on this new condenser, just like that, and then we're going to go and drop it down in there. So we're just going to start off like this, an angle, put it right down. Now down in here there's rubber mallets. Now we got to get the rubber mallets off of the old condenser, so I'm going to get those real quick. You can see right here on the old one, we got to take these rubber mallets off. They're bushings, actually, they call them. Alright, so we're going to put these bushings on the new one. So one there. I'm going to put the other bushing on the other one. Just like that. And then before we put it in there, we're going to duct these front brackets underneath the frame. Like that. And then we're going to come back under it and then shove it right down in there. And then we can go ahead and bolt it up. But before we bolt it up, we're going to put our high side line back on down here. And then we're going to put, first we're going to put this, actually the low side right here. We're going to put this one on first. So we're going to pull this out, and we're going to go ahead and pull the plug, obviously, on the new condenser. They come with plugs. And we're going to put, you go want to change these seals out on both sides, but these are already been changed out, so we're going to leave them in there. So you can put a little bit of oil, maybe just a little bit of spit around the O-ring, and then you're going to put it back in there just like that, and then go ahead and put your 10mm bolt back in, and we're going to do the same thing for this one and the other high side. Okay, so I got both high side lines hooked up to the condenser right now, there and right there. You guys already know where the other one is. It's underneath the front bumper. Okay, so I'm using this. This is my vacuum pump. You can get these. They're only made in Japan. Model number 96677. It's an air-operated vacuum pump. Hooks right up to your air compressor. Right here has a fitting, and then it hooks up to the middle yellow line on your gauges. So this is an R134, same fittings, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hook up my air to here. We're going to pull a vacuum and we're going to open up the high and the low side just to test and make sure we don't have any leaks. Pulling a vacuum right now. I got the air compressor hose hooked up, and then I'm running it to the yellow line in the middle, and as you can see we're pulling a vacuum here. We're at about -1 on the low side, and we're about -0 past probably -1 on the high side. That was just some oil you were hearing spittering through there. On the bottom of this thing there's a vent where the air blows out, and then maybe the oil and the dye. So I'm going to let this go, and then when you're done you just go ahead and turn the both high and low side off, and then pull it, and then just watch with the vacuum to see if it holds a good vacuum.